How is it going, Bears fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Down podcast, where we talk everything Bears every day of the week. We had some crazy news out of Chicago this morning as tensions are boiling over in Seattle. Quarterback Russell Wilson has given the Seahawks a list of 4 teams he would like to come to if it doesn't work out in Seattle, and the Chicago Bears have somehow miraculously made the list. Today, in this new podcast, episode number 222, we're going to be discussing what Russell Wilson would bring to the Bears and what the Bears may have to offer to get him to Chicago. Welcome back to the show, guys. It's been a while. It has definitely been a while. February, the most dead part of the year, and you can only do so many mock drafts, but whenever there is some new content, we're going to be coming back to you guys. We're trying to record each and every day, but sometimes things just really slow down and there's not much going on. But we are back today discussing Russell Wilson. I'm your host, Chris Malpe, joined with the whole crew today. To the right of me, Zach Rimbos. Below me, my 2 trusty co-hosts, Parth and Jaylen McClinton. Everyone, how is it going? How does it feel to be back? I feel a little bit rusty personally, but I must say it feels good to be back and recording with you all.
Yeah, it's super nice to have the whole gang back together, all 4 of us. But yeah, excited to record about this. Big news, definitely. Russell Wilson's a really good quarterback, and the Bears could definitely make a big move here if it could happen.
It's been a long time since I recorded. It feels weird, but like Parth and Chris said, it feels good to record all 4 of us again. We haven't done this, a lot, so definitely, it's important when we have all 4 at the same time. So that's it.
Yeah, we haven't done all 4 of us since early February when we did the QB carousel. So it's always good to hop back on here with all you. And last time I recorded was with Jaylen. I think we were talking about Darnell Mooney.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a little bit, but glad to hop back into it, even if this is kind of a far reach. But let's go for it.
You know what's wild? It doesn't seem like a far reach, at least for the time being, just based on what we've heard today. So Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson has not yet demanded his trade, per his agent Mark Rogers. Wilson has told the Seahawks he still wants to play in Seattle. There were some reports this morning that they'd been having some meetings all offseason. Tensions boiled over this morning. Wilson storming out of a meeting with head coach Pete Carroll and some of the upper brass, having struggles about talking about the offensive future in Seattle. If a trade were considered for Wilson, the only 4 teams he would go to, waiving his no-trade clause for, is the Dallas Cowboys, the New Orleans Saints, the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Chicago Bears. 4 big market teams in the National Football League he would be willing to go to. Also, before we get a little bit more into this, I would like to reiterate that it was reported as well by Mike Garofalo of NFL Network that the Bears are currently trying to show Wilson that they also want him in Chicago, trying to reciprocate that interest to make sure he stays on the line and knows that the Bears want him. So, seems like as of right now, things are kind of at a cold war, at a standstill in Seattle. But Russell Wilson does want to come to Chicago if he does get traded. So, Parth, I'm going to start it off with you. This is a no-brainer, but would you like to see Wilson head to the Windy City, back near where he grew up, I believe, somewhere in the Midwest? I'm not exact. Cincinnati, Cleveland, something like that. Would you like to see him in Chicago?
Yeah, I would absolutely love to see Russell Wilson in Chicago. He's basically an Hall of Fame quarterback, top 10, top 15 quarterback of all time. And he has a long time to go.
You said some really weird takes about quarterbacks on this show. You were the one that said Matthew Stafford.
Matthew Stafford.
Yeah. Okay, oh my goodness gracious! Continue.
You guys don't think Wilson's a Hall of Fame quarterback?
I know that part's true. You said
that's top 10 of all time.
Top 15.
Okay, keep going. We're getting off track.
He's got a long time to go. I think he's still got 5, 6, 7 years left in him. He can still win a Super Bowl. He's still playing at a high level. This year we saw right out the gate he was playing at an MVP level, and he had some turnover issues. So that happened in Seattle. Also, a lot of play calling issues with that offensive coordinator. I believe they also fired him this offseason. But if Russell Wilson was on the Bears, I would love to see that. He'd be the best Bears quarterback of all time. He'd come in and definitely make this Bears team a playoff contender. We have a chance to beat Green Bay now just because of how good Russell Wilson is just by himself. And if we can add a couple pieces around him, this offense can be scary, especially with David Montgomery's resurgence. I'd love to see Darnell Mooney, still evolve. And if we can keep Allen Robinson out, that would seal the deal. I think the Bears would win the division.
Yeah, and you would assume that bringing Russ to Chicago would probably keep Robinson around, easily be the best quarterback he's ever played with in his career. And the Bears would hopefully be able to keep him around. But this is a no-brainer for Chicago. I was super shocked when I found out that the Bears were interested. Not shocked that the Bears were interested, but that Russ actually said he would, to his agent, he would waive his no-trade clause to come here. Look, the Bears are going to be interested in every single quarterback this offseason. We've seen it so far. We've seen Jimmy Garoppolo. We've seen Carson Wentz. We've seen Deshaun Watson. We've seen Derek Carr. And now we've seen Russell Wilson, and I'm sure we'll see Sam Darnold. I'm sure we'll see absolutely everyone else to come, and a lot of draft prospects as we move forward with this entire process. But this is the most interesting one because this is actually the first time we've seen a quarterback express interest in coming to Chicago. We're really not sure what happened with the entire Carson Wentz situation. Seems like there was a lot of smoke out of Philadelphia. But one big thing is there were legitimate reports that Carson Wentz didn't want to come to Chicago. Russell Wilson actually wants to be here. He can be a winner here. And look, he's been someone who's played with terrible offensive lines throughout his time in his career, so that's not much of a worry for me. The worry is more so getting weapons around him to be able to make him succeed. But he could come here, play with another great defense, arguably even have a better play caller. And I'm sure we'll talk about this in the future, but this really does beg the question, is Matt Nagy more respected around the league than a lot of people give him credit for? Because if Russ wants to come here, the defense can't be the entirety of it. He wants to come and play in this offense and be able to succeed. So I think it's a no-brainer for the Bears to try and do this. And if I'm being completely honest, I think you call Seattle if they're willing to listen at some point. And if it gets that bad and you say, hey, what do you want? Okay, you got it. That's how great Russell Wilson is. And I think if he came to Chicago, I'm pretty sure Bears fans and Chicagoans would knock down the bean and replace it with a Russell Wilson statue. That's how much he would mean to this city. So, Ryan Pace, your job is on the line. Mm-hmm. One of the greatest quarterbacks in the common era is here and available for you. You have to do absolutely everything you can to get him, especially considering he wants to come here. So, Jaylen, I'm going to pass it down to you. Russell Wilson wants to come here. Do you think the Bears should try and do all they can to get it done?
Absolutely. First of all, Russell Wilson is 32 years old. For a quarterback that's not considered old, you still have multiple years left. We're obviously seeing Brady win the Super Bowl, and he's like year 20 or something like that. He's 43 years old, and he literally dominated one of the best teams in the NFL in the Super Bowl this year. So I'm not saying Russell Wilson's Tom Brady, but he's beat Tom Brady. Well, he didn't beat Tom Brady, but he's played Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. He should have won that game. We all know what happened there. But like I said, Russell Wilson is 32 years old. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He's definitely one of the best quarterbacks of all time, but I don't know top 10 though. But he's basically carried the Seahawks team to the playoffs almost every single year without an offensive line, without a lot of weapons. His best weapons have been Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, and he had Marshawn Lynch, who's one of the best running backs to ever play. But when it comes down to it, we need a quarterback. Everybody in the NFL knows the Chicago Bears need a quarterback, and if we can get one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, we have to go for it. It's either him or Deshaun Watson. The quarterbacks are getting limited that are going to be available, and we can't go into the season with a rookie quarterback or Marcus Mariota and expect Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy's job to be safe.
Yeah, and it's actually interesting because if he doesn't end up in Chicago, say he goes somewhere else, say he goes to the Raiders, that makes Derek Carr available. Say he goes to the Saints, this wouldn't be an ideal option, but it would make Jameis Winston available. Say he goes to the Cowboys, Dak Prescott will enter free agency. So if Russell Wilson really does want out and ends up demanding that trade, that's going to be big in opening up options for the Bears anyways. But Zach, I want to pass it around to you to get your thoughts. If Seattle were to trade Russell Wilson, they would eat up $39 million in dead cap. That would be the most in NFL history. He'd have cap hits of $31 million, $24 million, and $27 million over the next 3 years. That's a lot of money. The Bears would obviously have to trade a lot of first-round picks, I assume, as well as some marquee names, probably defensively. But that being said, do you still think it's worth it to try and pull the trigger here and get him in Chicago?
Absolutely. You have to pull the trigger, especially if you're Ryan Pace. Like you said, his job is on the line. This is you can't even really question a move like this. You'd have to make this move if you're trying to win football games. It's like Parth said. Much like Deshaun Watson, he would probably walk in as the best quarterback the Bears have ever had in franchise history.
That's not probably
and
that's
easily.
absolutely.
Well, no, but I'm saying with Deshaun as well. Deshaun would walk in
yeah.
too, probably as the most talented quarterback the Bears have ever had. But with that being said, 100% they need to make that move if they want to. And like you said, I think that's a great point. If he does decide to, if it does come to it, his trade would open up a lot of options for the Bears, and that could potentially be good. Let's
I
hope
think at this
something
point
happens.
you just root for him to force a trade because it either is Russell Wilson to Chicago or it opens up a realm of possibilities for other guys to come to Chicago that are pretty marquee names: Derek Carr, Jameis Winston, Dak Prescott, one of those guys.
And I want to say, like, the most probable option for me, looking at this from a fan perspective, obviously I'm not a management role, so I can't say anything, but I think the most appealing options, and based on where the cap is right now, are the Bears and the Las Vegas Raiders right now. And Cowboys are in some very troubling cap.
Also, a source
cap
told
salary
Josina.
right now.
I know a source from Dallas told Josina Anderson just a couple of hours ago that Dak killed their guy, and they're working on getting something done there. So
and
then
of course
we know the
Saints. Yeah,
I mean, maybe the Saints could break cap space at that point if they got him.
They'd have to trade like Kamara and a lot of other pieces for him, I would say, because they're in hell right now with salary cap. So that they're gonna have to figure something out if they try and do that. But
yeah, and it's really interesting also if he does go to Las Vegas, because I'm sure Bears fans would still be all right or down with the idea of Derek Carr in Chicago. Obviously, Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson are those grand prizes, but not a bad silver medal if that could happen as well. Let's talk a little bit more before we close this one off about what Seattle wants, because it was rumored that their baseline is going to be 3 first-round picks. So, Parth, I'm going to pass it back down to you. 3 first-round picks is quite the mighty haul. It's something similar to what we saw Matthew Stafford just go to the Rams for. And it'll set the Bears back a couple of years, and they've only had 1 first-round pick in these last few years. So are you sending them 3 first-round picks in order to get Russell Wilson? And what else would you possibly add on that offer if you're Ryan Pace?
Yeah, I definitely would easily spend 3 first-round picks for someone like Russell Wilson. But I would rather do it for Deshaun Watson before. If we can get Watson over.
Who could possibly even be cheaper or the same price?
Yeah, I think they're going to be the same price. I think my offer would be the same for both of them. 3 first, a 4th, a Kyle Fuller, and maybe another key player like Akeem Hicks for Russell Wilson, and a 5th, or Deshaun Watson in the 5th. I'd offer that to the Texans first. I feel like Watson is the younger player, so I'd rather have him here. But I would not mind Wilson at the end of the day. I mean, he's just as good, and he's still got a lot left in him. And at the end of the day, he still makes us a playoff team. So
I don't know if saying you wouldn't mind Wilson is the best way to go.
I mean, yeah. I would
praise Wilson.
Yeah, exactly.
You ran Trubisky Nation for 4 years. You would get on your hands and knees and bow down to Russell Wilson.
Absolutely. I will literally bow down to Russell Wilson if he joins.
Yeah, you know what? I got to go ahead and agree with you. I'd probably offer a similar offer. I would offer it to Seattle first, and here's why. If things get bad enough there, we know that Russell would consider coming to Chicago and possibly even wants it. In terms of Deshaun Watson, things could get sticky there in terms of where he wants to go, whether or not he'd waive his no-trade clause. So I think I'd go 3 first, maybe a 2nd or 3rd, and once again, one of those top cap space players the Bears currently have, Kyle Fuller or Akeem Hicks. And if they want Khalil Mack, I'm sure we'll make another video about it probably tomorrow about like who's untouchable and whatnot. But it could be interesting if they want someone like Jaylen Johnson, Khalil Mack, Roquan Smith. But right now I'd probably go 3 first, maybe a 2nd or 3rd, as well as a marquee defensive name for Russell Wilson. And yeah, as Parth said, maybe a late round pick. I think that'd be fine. Just getting that franchise quarterback would be so worth it in my mind. So Jaylen, I'm going to pass it down to you. When we discussed the Carson Wentz trade, when we've discussed Deshaun Watson trades, you've been a little hesitant to offering a lot, and basically what you would say is selling the farm for one of these franchise quarterbacks. But It seems like the Seahawks baseline right now is 3 first-round picks. We know 10-plus teams are interested in Wilson, but he does want to go to one of those 4 squads. So if you're Ryan Pace, what are you offering, and are you willing to give up those 3 first-rounders?
You said 3?
3. Yes, that's what Seattle wants.
See, that's hard, man. Like 2, I can give up 2 first-round picks. We've done it before. I've lived through it. I'll be okay if we give up 2 first-round picks for Hall of Fame quarterback. But 3, like if we give up 3 first-round picks, that will take up until he's 35 years old. And if we don't build off, he's never been a injury-prone type player. He's played behind way worse offensive line than we had over the last couple of years. But we can't. We don't want to end up like the Seahawks, not being able to put too much talent, enough talent around Russell Wilson, because
we saw the Seahawks struggle this year because they
they gave their 2 first-round picks up for Jamal Adams.
Yeah.
They won't have a first-round pick until 2022. So yeah, I don't want to end up like that because obviously Pace is a good drafter when it comes to the later rounds. We found all pro talent in the 4th and 5th rounds and stuff like that. But first round picks, those are needed at the end of the day. People get older. People sometimes just fall off a cliff after playing well for a couple seasons. We've seen that before on this team. And when you have a guy like that and a quarterback that he needs help, you can't rely on 2nd, 3rd, 4th round picks, to help him. So 2 first round picks I'll be totally down with. I think we can survive 2 seasons without a first round pick. To surround talent around Russell Wilson. But 3, I don't know about that. Plus, we would have to give up a player as well. So, if
it's going to be a big package, whoever ends up trading for him.
Yeah, it's going to be for Watson or Russell Wilson. But I think it might be harder to trade for Russell Wilson than it is for Watson. Russell Wilson is a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Watson has got his team to the playoffs. The last couple of years, obviously not this year, but Russell Wilson has. You can say he's been a better quarterback, and that's definitely true. So I think it's definitely going to be harder for the Seahawks to trade Wilson before the Texans trade Watson. But who knows? But like I said, I struggle with giving up 2 first round picks plus more, because probably going to be some later round picks as well, plus some players. I don't know about that, but 2 first round picks I would definitely give up with no hesitation.
And I'm sure we'll make a video in the coming days, even though both seem unrealistic, about Deshaun Watson versus Russell Wilson, who you'd rather trade for, because that would also be a great debate. But, Zach, it seems like the baseline here is 3 first-rounders. If you're Ryan Pace, what are you looking to give up to get the guy that wants to be in Chicago if things go awry in Seattle, in Chicago?
Listen, it's really a tough decision. Obviously, giving up 3 first-round picks would set your team back a lot, but like you said, this guy's a winner. He's a solidified winner. On top of that, the great quarterback he is. The fact that he would come into this team and probably easily make it around a top 10 offense just by himself, and that's saying the offensive line was about middle of the pack second half of the season. Obviously Russell Wilson has said in over the offseason said that with his camp he was unhappy about the Seahawks' ability to protect him. Obviously the Bears' offensive line is not elite. It's not top half right now. So it's a hard decision, but I would absolutely give up 3 first-round picks to a marquee player. And that's just because, the offense, Matt Nagy is a head coach. If he wants to retain his job, he needs some, he's an offensive-minded coach. He has to do his job. And in order for that to happen, he needs an amazing quarterback like Russell Wilson to be able to get the job done. And I can just imagine that that Wilson to Mooney connection would be insane. You saw Tyler Lockett throughout his time, as well as DK Metcalf. Those two, and like you said, Allen Robinson would most likely stay. That offense would be amazing, and that's on top.
And you would also hope the Bears could pluck some nice veteran players for cheap that want to come to Chicago and play with Russell Wilson and compete for a title.
Right, and that's the thing is he brings, he attracts other players. They're going to want to come and play for the Chicago Bears because of who Russell Wilson is. He's a top quarterback in this league and has been for many years. And that's much like Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson would bring that same type of attention. But, you got to think Montgomery's obviously is here next year, as well as Tariq Cohen, unless we trade one of them. But I couldn't see that happening. I would see it being a defensive player. So I would absolutely give up 3 first-round picks and a defensive marquee player. I don't know. I would not like it to be Roquan. But you'd likely see a lot more in a package. I think you'd see a lot more in a package for Russell Wilson than you would, not a lot more, but a little bit more than Deshaun Watson, just because, like we said, solidified winner. He's top league.
Super Bowl champion.
Deshaun Watson still has some time to go. So obviously he's younger, which is more appealing, but it could be interesting. So we'll see.
Yeah, we shall see, and we shall keep you guys posted here on everything going on with the Chicago Bears and Russell Wilson. So if you are new to the channel, you want Bears content, hopefully starting every day of the week soon once things get back into the swing of it, be sure to subscribe, follow whatever platform you're listening on, whether you're on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. And for those of you listening on YouTube, do us a favor, drop a like, comment whether or not you think the Bears should trade for Russell Wilson down in the comments. We want to know your thoughts. And it definitely should be an interesting next couple of weeks as things start to sprawl out. If you would like more content from us, head over to our website, beardown.com. We're getting back into the groove of things on there again, posting columns, articles, and blogs about everything Bears offseason, whether that be the draft, free agency, absolutely anything. So if you want more content from us, we have a ton of great people that work behind the scenes. So head over to our website for more. If you would like to find the podcast on Instagram and Twitter, you can find us on both platforms at Bear Down. And finally, you can find the links to the social media of all four of us down in the description, our Instagram and Twitter pages. You can see our thoughts on this entire Russell Wilson situation, everything with the Chicago Bears and the National Football League, as well as professional sports. It's a great way to interact with us, so please go follow us on all platforms. Parth Shaw, Jaylen McClinton, Zach Rimbos, things have gotten interesting and spicy once again in Chicago. Bears fans can have hope for now, but this is probably the best quarterback news the Bears have heard in quite some time, and he's not even close to being a Bear yet. But any last words before we close this one out?
It just shows how desperate we are as Bears fans, but we can't do anything else about it. We're just fans who just want a quarterback.
We just need a freaking quarterback.
Exactly.
Jaylen, any last words?
It's no news to talk about with the Bears, but the Bulls.
Hey, man, Zach LaVine, let's go. I am completely on the Bulls and Blackhawks train. Both the teams completely surprising me with how they're playing. Zach LaVine, an all-star, all these players on the Blackhawks turning up. So shout out to the two teams.
All I got to say is I've been down with the Bulls this whole season, even when Chris and Zach were saying not Chris and Zach. Chris and Parth were saying they were trash because we started off 0-3 and stuff like that. But I've been sticking down.
I may have said that, but I also said that Zach LaVine deserved an all-star. I don't think anyone was more happy to see any of their players get nominated as an all-star reserve than Chicagoans, because Zach LaVine definitely deserved it.
Because we all know Zach deserved it, but hey, like I said, Bears haven't produced nothing. The only news we've got so far is that Russell Wilson wants to play with us, but the Bulls have been fun. So this offseason hasn't been that bad.
Yeah, the Bulls have been good. A good core there with Patrick Williams, Kobe White, Thad Young's been showing up big time. Saturatsky's been good off the bench. Zach, I know you've been happy about the Blackhawks. So any last words before we close this one out?
Oh, boy. Chicago teams right now are making me pretty happy, obviously. It's the offseason for the Bears, and
both
that season
the Bulls
didn't end.
and Blackhawks, slight underdogs, but I think they're both, starting to be able to perform with pretty good competition.
They're both very young teams, and they look great, which is something to say a lot about the coaching. The Hawks obviously have had their coach that they've had for now 3 years since Quenneville left, but he's starting to turn around, and players are starting to buy into the system, but regardless – I think in terms of the news for the Bears here, this is the most intriguing because Deshaun Watson hasn't come out and said that he would be interested in playing for the Bears. You know what I mean? So Russell Wilson coming out and saying to his agent that he would be interested in playing for the Chicago Bears is huge news for us because obviously Chicago is not an easy place to play. It is a very, very big city with a lot of fans who are this is a football town, man, and you got to come in and produce, and if you don't, then you're going to see a lot of the effects like we saw over the multitude of years with different quarterbacks. So it's pretty cool to see that he has interest in playing here, and I think Chicago would welcome him with open arms, no question in my mind. So
yeah, and it really does make sense when it comes down to it that he wants to play in a big market, Dallas, New Orleans with what they do with football, Las Vegas obviously, and then Chicago. It should be really interesting, but we're going to keep you guys posted on everything Bears news. Hopefully start posting more consistently now that everything's going on, but it feels great to be back, great making videos for you guys. It's been a pleasure to be your host, though, guys. Once again, my name is Chris Malpe. Bears fans, as always, do us a favor and stay safe and bear down. We'll see you guys in the next one. Probably coming tomorrow, more Russell Wilson news, and that's pretty much it for us, guys. Peace out.